without a play.
Coming up, we'll have a recap of the previous Padres game, a preview of today's starting pitching matchup, and our keys to the game. Plus, we'll hear from manager Mike Shildt. From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Today the Padres take on the St. Louis Cardinals in the second game of a four-game series. Our starting pitching matchup today for the Cardinals, right-hander Miles Mikolas, and for the Padres, right-hander Dylan Cease. Hi, good everyone. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. First pitch coming up at 4:45 p.m. in St. Louis. Coming up in the next 50 minutes, you'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. We'll check in with Padres radio voice Jesse Agler in just a few minutes. A little bit later, our keys to the game and a full breakdown of our starting pitching matchup. But first, let's set the table, brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971 with 3 locations, La Mesa, Vista, and Oceanside. Padres entered today 75-58. They entered today sitting in the National League's second wildcard spot, 1 game behind Arizona for the top spot. Padres also begin the day 4 games behind the LA Dodgers for first place in the National League West. Padres have won 2 in a row and are now 25-8 in their last 33 games. Meanwhile, the Cardinals come in 65-66 after losing yesterday's series opener. Before we turn our full attention to today's game, let's revisit that series opener in the Lou.
How did the Padres fare in their last game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind. Presented by Hamul Casino. With thrilling slots and tables and all the best rewards, Hamul Casino has all the fun you're looking for. Hamul Casino. Fun above all else.
Early yesterday in St. Louis, Manny Machado put the Padres ahead in the first inning.
Here's the 1-1. Manny swings, hits it in the air. Straightaway center and deep. Scott is back at the wall. This one gonna go onto the grass embankment in center field. Machado a 2-run homer, and the Padres a 2-0 lead.
Padres led 2-1 in the third. Jackson Merrill dug in with the bases loaded.
3-1 to Jackson Merrill. Gibson delivers. Jackson swings, lines it into left field and a base hit. Profar has scored. Machado's being waved. Burleson comes up throwing. The tag is not in time. 2-run single, Jackson Merrill, and a 4-1 Padre lead.
Padres then led 4-2 in the fifth inning. That's when Manny had another big swing.
2-2 to Manny, hit hard and beyond the dive of Arenado down the left field side. Ricochets off the side wall. Burleson's got to go and get it. The run is scored. Cronenworth into third base. It's an RBI double for Manny Machado and a 5-2 Padre lead.
Padres then led 6-2 in the fifth inning. That's when Jackson Merrill struck again.
Now battle mode here against Liberator. 2-2, reach for, poked into right center field. That'll drop down and another base hit. Machado scores easily. Merrill an RBI single. He's driven in 3, and the Padre lead is 7-2.
Pure happiness.
Manny and Merrill had very big days. 3 RBIs for Manny, 3 RBIs and a couple of hits for Jackson Merrill. David Peralta added a double. Padres went 3 for 10 with runners in scoring position. And, of course, the other big story, Randy Vasquez, really solid yesterday. 6 innings and 2 runs given up. Final score in the series opener at Busch Stadium, the Padres 7 and the Cardinals 4. And that sets things up today. Game 2 of this 4-game series coming up at 4:45. As always, if you want to get involved on our pregame coverage, you can do that in a number of different ways. You can tweet at me at Sammy Lev, SammyLev. Instagram DM's open as well. Sammy Lev there too if you want to comment on our various video streams. You can also chime in there. Let me know. What is your key to today's game? Is it something about Dylan Cease? Is it something about the Padres offense? Let me know what is your key to today's game. And I may just read your key to the game coming up a little bit later on during our pregame coverage. Let's go to the Midwest in St. Louis.
Let's go inside the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup from Jesse Agler in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
We go out to Busch Stadium. We're joined by Jesse Agler as we get ready for today's game. And Jesse, let's start the conversation today with Jackson Merrill. And always so much to talk about when it comes to Mr. Merrill. I'll frame it this way today. We saw on Sunday the walk-off home run. And then yesterday, some RBI chances, comes through, just quality at bats, big-time pieces of hitting, 3 RBIs. Jesse, for the 21-year-old, what's impressed you more? The quality of the at-bats, the approach, or the power that has come so early in his major league career?
I think they're all connected, Sam, and they're all impressive. You know, I mean, I don't think one happens without the other. I don't think you're going to see the power without the approach. I don't think you're going to see the base hits, without the sort of mentality that he has going up there. So, look, it has been complete package for the guy so far this season. He's going to end up driving in more runs than any Padre rookie ever has. And beyond that, they're big runs. You know, he's not coming up in these random situations and, getting a guy home from third base in a 6-1 game or anything like that. It's been big spot after big spot after big spot. Sometimes it's obvious late in the game, like the other day with the walk-off. Sometimes it's more like yesterday, that 2-run single in the third inning. Kind of felt a little bit like the one that got the Padres over a hump in the game, and it's just it's been remarkable. I mean, we saw Fernando burst onto the scene a few years ago. It was very different, but in a lot of ways similar because it was a young guy who just seemed like he had limitless talent, limitless ability, and you wanted him up in the big spots, and that's a rare thing to be able to say about somebody with that kind of experience.
Jesse, let's talk about the guy on the mound today for the Padres. That's right-hander Dylan Cease, a 3.43 ERA coming in 27 starts, a major league leading 193 strikeouts. You zoom out, you look at his last 8 starts, 1.58 ERA, really had a nice outing against the Mets his last time out, 6 innings and a third, gave up 2 earned runs. In the big picture, Jesse, how would you sum up as we enter Cease's final start of the month of August? How would you sum up this season for Dylan Cease ever since the Padres acquired him right before the season began?
Electric and critical. He's been electric, obviously. He's pretty much, when you think about it, right, he is kind of slotted in to what Blake Snell did last year. And when Blake left in free agency, it was a very fair question to ask. Hey, how exactly are you going to replace the innings and the strikeouts of a guy who literally won the Cy Young Award last year? And the answer has been Dylan Cease. He has pretty much done what Blake did last year, and maybe even then some, when you throw the no-hitter in there. So he has been electric. He has been critical because he's been a guy that has taken the ball every time. Though, he hadn't necessarily gone 6 lately until that last one. He has more often than not this year, given the Padres the kind of length that you really need to get out of at least a few of your starters over the course of the long season. It's going to go down as just a massive acquisition for this team. And then, you consider that it happened literally as we were getting ready to head to the airport and fly to Korea. Just sort of adds to the wildness of that transaction. And I just don't think you can overstate how important Dylan Cease has been to this 2024 team.
If we needed any more evidence as to how long a baseball season is, if we remember that, Jesse, when the trade was going down, literally as the buses were being boarded for the airport to the trip to Korea. It's a long season. That seems like a really, really long time ago, all the way back in Peoria. Jesse, let's talk about Manny Machado. Had 3 RBIs last night. You zoom out a little bit, batting .324 in his past 113 plate appearances, an OPS north of 1,000 in that span. How do you assess what we've seen from Manny, in particular the last couple of weeks?
I think, as we've discussed pretty regularly over the course of the season, the elbow and then even for a time the hip also have been pretty big factors. And, the elbow is probably not going to feel anywhere close to 100% this season. I think we all have to sort of be at peace with that. Now, the reality, of course, is that 80% of Manny Machado is better than 100% of most every other person who's ever played baseball. So that's the good news on that one. And, the days when it's feeling good for Manny are hopefully and ideally the weeks that it's feeling good for Manny, will be the weeks that you're gonna see the kinds of numbers you just mentioned. He is as dangerous as ever. He's not going to complain about the elbow. He's not going to talk much about the elbow. He's going to go out there and play because that's what he needs to do for himself and this team. But there's obviously a difference between the production that he's able to give when it's feeling better as opposed to when it's feeling worse. And, when he is going right, he is as dangerous as anybody in the game, and we're certainly seeing that as of late.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun to watch as of late. Before I let you go, Jesse, I want you to fire up the AccuJesse 5000, if you'd be so
I don't
kind.
need it. It's just hot, man.
It's just hot? All right, fair enough. I was going to say, I see 101 on my computer screen. Does it feel like 101 and maybe even hotter than that?
Oh, it feels hotter. I think my app earlier, a little while ago, said feels like we got as high as 114.
Oh,
I think.
wow.
The current, scoreboard temperature reading right now is 100.
Wow.
That's the actual temperature in the building. And then obviously, you factor in the humidity and
I'm sure it's very sticky.
Yeah, it's St. Louis in August. It's
Yes.
exactly what we thought it would be. It's oppressive and it is what it is.
All right, Jesse, stay cool. I'm sorry to tell you, it's a beautiful day here in San Diego. You guys will be back here soon enough. Jesse, enjoy the call today. We'll talk to you and Tony coming up at 4:35 for Game 2 of this 4-game series. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Sam.
All right, that's Jesse Agler joining us on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on the Padres Radio Network as we get ready for Game 2 of this 4-game series. Padres winning Game 1 yesterday by a final of 7-4. Padres trying to keep the good times rolling on this road trip, a road trip that will see them play 3 more games in St. Louis, including today, then 3 games in Tampa Bay Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. When we come back, we hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. We have the latest on Fernando Tatis Jr., the latest on Ha-Sung Kim. Good breakdown of Manny Machado and Nolan Arenado, 2 of the best third basemen we obviously have in the game right now and certainly over the course of the last decade. A lot to do between now and first pitch at 4:45. The Padres and the Cardinals on this Tuesday afternoon here in America's finest city. Our pregame show continues after this.
You're
Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. First pitch coming up at 4:45 in St. Louis, Missouri, as the Padres take on the St. Louis Cardinals in Game 2 of this 4-game series. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. We go out to Jesse Agler and Tony Gwynn Jr. at 4:35. A lot to do between now and first pitch. We'll have who's hot, who's not coming up in just a few minutes. We'll also give you our keys to the game and a full breakdown of this pitching matchup between right-hander Dylan Cease going up against veteran right-hander Miles Michaelis on the mound for St. Louis. But first, let's hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Presented by Sinley Food. Spice up your culinary life.
Well, obviously, every time the Padres and Cardinals play, there's always comparisons drawn between Manny Machado and Nolan Arenado, who are two of the finest third basemen we've had in our game for the last decade or so. Although this season, pretty clearly that Manny is having the better year. Manny, a .325 on base percentage that's higher than Arenado, a .456 slugging percentage that's higher than Arenado, 118 OPS plus that's 18 points higher than Arenado, 21 home runs compared to Arenado's 14, and 77 RBIs for Manny this season compared to Arenado's 60. But even with that said, obviously both players, and we always hear the comparisons and the Gold Gloves and all that sort of stuff, but both are great players, great players in their own right. Of course, Mike Shildt has the unique experience of managing both players. His time in St. Louis with Nolan Arenado, his time now in San Diego with Manny Machado. Here was Mike Shildt earlier today on getting a chance to watch Machado and Arenado play up close.
Talk about blessing, man. You know, you look up and I saw Scott Rowland play a fair amount. Really good. You know, my dad's favorite player, being a Baltimore guy growing up, was Brooks Robinson. That was his guy. And but yeah, getting the privilege to see Nolan for a year, and now Manny for the last 3, and now of course this year from a different seat. It's really special. They're both generational Hall of Fame talents.
And completely different in their style of play as well, would you say?
Yeah, they've got different styles about them, but the commonality is, I mean, they're clearly sure-handed. They've got a real ability to slow the game down. They can throw from a lot of different places, and they're accurate. They just pretty special.
They seem to have a nice competitiveness between each other also in terms of wanting to outdo each other with a crazy play.
Yeah, I think, you know, players like to compete, you know, and players recognize, you know, they know game. You know, they respect each other's game, but they respect it, and then they also want to make sure that they're, you know, competing, you know, mano a mano.
So that was Mike Shildt on Nolan Arenado and Manny Machado, both those guys back in their respective lineups here today. Well, we've known over the course of the past few days that Fernando Tatis Jr. is getting live at-bats in Arizona. We know that Yu Darvish threw 3 up-downs on Sunday at Petco Park. We'll get a little bit deeper into that during our injury report coming up a little bit later. But here was the latest earlier today. Mike Shildt talking about what Tatis is doing in Arizona, the potential of a rehab assignment for Fernando, and also the very latest on Ha-Seong Kim, currently on the IL with a shoulder injury. The latest on Tatis and Kim.
They're more, you know, set up as simulated games, you know, where you got a defense and a pitcher, just like a game, just taking this, you know, in a controlled setting, taking a lot of at-bats.
That's obviously part of the plan, is to get him as many reps as possible to get him back. Is that like
Yeah, just see pitches, right? See, you know, righty, lefty, fastballs, create situational opportunities for him that you can't control in games necessarily. So you can just go out and, you know, runner at second base, runner at third, less 2 outs. You know, all those different things that you can put into in a simulated situation that allows him to get a lot of at-bats, and similar to what we did with Bogey that we felt like was really effective.
Do you think Tommy will go play?
I think it'll still be determined. I think he's getting back. I mean, we trust, you know, Bogey went and played. Everybody's different, right? I mean, he's missed some time. We're aware of that. But I know at least I have a real comfort level with trusting the player for what he needs. And, you know, so we'll see what that looks like.
And he might not need it.
He may not. He may not.
How's Ha-Seong?
I just saw him. He's here. I haven't had a chance to sit down with him, so it'd be irresponsible for me to have a conversation about how he's doing. But we'll know more. I'll know more later today, and maybe we can address it after the game.
So now we're in on maybe some of the latest imaging.
Everything seems to be pretty consistent with what we know.
Last couple of questions there were on Ha-Sung Kim. By the way, Bob Scanlon did tweet out a video just about 35, 40 minutes ago of Kim making some throws, just playing some catch before today's game. So certainly that appears to be a good sign. And that was the latest on Ha-Sung Kim. You heard the questions there about Fernando, about what he's doing in Arizona, how things have been set up with some of the live at-bats. And we don't know yet if Fernando would go out on a rehab assignment or not. Seems like we'll have more information on that in the days to come. But the good news is this: Fernando is in Arizona taking live at bats. We saw him running at Petco Park during the course of the past weeks. It does seem like Fernando is getting closer and closer to a return. First pitch coming up at 4:45 in St. Louis. Let's tell you who's hot, who's not.
Which player is locked in at the dish? Who needs to kick things up another notch? This is Who's Hot, Who's Not on the Padres Radio Network.
Let's begin with a look at the hot category. Manny Machado, 7 for his last 16 with a home run, 2 doubles, and 4 RBIs. Jackson Merrill also in the hot category. His last 11 games, batting .326 with a .946 OPS, 2 home runs, 2 doubles, 2 triples, and 11 RBIs in that span. David Peralta, 5 extra base hits in his last 13 games. He's hitting .350 in that span. The not category, we focus on Luis Campusano, just 5 for 32 in the month of August. 1 extra base hit this month. He is back in the lineup today. But one thing to note with Campy, he is 3 for 5 with a double in his career against tonight's starting pitcher for St. Louis, right-hander Miles Mikolas. So we'll see if Campy can get it going against the guy that he's had a good amount of success against. And that's a look at who's hot, who's not as we get ready for Game 2 of this 4-game set. When we come back, we take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard, our keys to the game, plus a little bit later, a much deeper dive into today's pitching matchup between Miles Mikolas and Dylan Cease. First pitch at 4:45 at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. You're listening to the Padres Radio Network.
It is Woodsy.
Welcome back to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network. Your water perfected. EcoWater SoCal. Your water should be perfect. Find them online at EcoWaterSoCal.com. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. We go out to Jesse Agler and Tony Gwynn Jr. in just a little under 25 minutes. They'll have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and all the play-by-play with first pitch at 4:45, Game 2 of this 4-game series after the Padres beat the Cardinals yesterday 7-4. We mentioned Manny Machado in the hot category during our last segment. You should note that Manny, after his 2-run home run yesterday, now has 159 home runs as a Padre since 2019. That is now the third most in a Padre uniform ever, behind just Adrian Gonzalez, who hit 161, and the all-time leader, Nate Colbert, who's at 163. So Manny is starting to really close in on that all-time Padre home run record. Again, Manny at 159, Colbert at 163. So something to keep an eye on as we get into the final month of 2024. We'll tell you about our keys to the game coming up in just a bit. Also, a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard. But first,
Who's in? Who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit them up 24/7 at BadaFulkerson.com.
just some quick updates on the number of Padres injuries right now. Really good news on everybody. Nothing really new to report today, but Yu Darvish, we know he had 3 up and downs on Sunday at Petco Park, faced live hitters. Sounds like everything went well for you. We'll keep you posted on what the next step is for Yu Darvish. Fernando Tatis Jr., we heard from Mike Shildt earlier today, continuing to get live at bats in Arizona. Ha-Sung Kim still on the IL with his right shoulder injury, but we told you earlier we saw a video from St. Louis. Kim was throwing. Sounds like there was additional imaging, but right now, Kim still on the IL with that right shoulder injury. We'll keep you posted on what new info we hear. Also want to tell you about Wandy Peralta. Through a scoreless inning for Lake Elsinore on Friday as part of a rehab assignment. We'll see the next time Wandy Peralta gets in another minor league game for the continuation of that rehab assignment. And that's a look at our injury report, updates on Tatis, on Kim, on Darvish, and on Wandy Peralta. Let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Tuesday.
Let's take a trip around the Bigs and tell you about the scores you need to know in our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Meat, where great taste meets integrity.
We take a look at scores from around the major leagues. We've got a number of games going on right now. Number of games coming up a little bit later. Have a little YouTube issue here. Now we've got it sorted out. I don't know what happened there. The internet in the building. All right, back to the out-of-town scoreboard. Hey, you know, it's a 1 to 2 man show here on the pregame and postgame coverage, so sometimes we've got to deal with an issue in real time. All right, back to the out-of-town scoreboard. Games going on right now. Angels and the Tigers are scoreless in the first inning in Detroit. Pirates 2, Cubs nothing. In the second in Pittsburgh, Astros and the Phillies in Philadelphia in the second, no score there. Royals 2, Guardians nothing in the second in Cleveland. More on that game coming up in a second. Bottom half of the second in Cleveland right now. A's and the Reds are scoreless in Cincinnati in the third. Nationals 1, Yankees nothing in D.C. in the second inning. Blue Jays and the Red Sox are scoreless at Fenway Park in the first inning. Games yet to begin. Braves and the Twins in Minnesota at 4:40. Giants and the Brewers in Milwaukee at 5:10. Rangers in Chicago against the White Sox at 5:10. Marlins and the Rockies at 5:40 in Colorado. Rays and the Mariners at 6:40 in Seattle. Mets in Arizona at 6:40 as well in Phoenix. And finally, Orioles and the Dodgers in LA at 7:10. And that is a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Tuesday. Couple of other notes on the out-of-town scoreboard, some storylines to keep an eye on. We told you about that Phillies and Astros matchup, rematch of the 2022 World Series. By the way, the pitching matchup in that game, Justin Verlander against Aaron Nola in Philadelphia, rematch of Game 1 of the 2022 World Series. That game in Pittsburgh, Jared Jones slated to make his first start since July 3rd when he suffered a strained lat. There has been so much focus on Paul Skeens this year, but Jones has been another really good young starting pitcher for the Pirates, a 3.56 ERA in his first 16 starts of the season before the injury. And just a note on that game in Cleveland between the Royals and the Guardians, with a win today, if the Royals beat the Guardians, they would tie Cleveland atop the American League Central. The Guardians have had sole possession of first place in the AL Central going back to April 14th. So that is a real divisional race in the AL Central between the Royals and the Guardians, and the Royals trying to tie the Guardians in first place with a win today in Cleveland. We'll have much more on all those games coming up in our post-game show later on this evening. First pitch coming up at 4:45 in St. Louis. Let's give you our keys to today's game.
How will the Padres unlock a victory in today's game? These are the keys to the game. Presented by Honor Buick GMC Hummer in National City.
Key number 1, mash against Michaelis. Cardinals starter Miles Michaelis has allowed 20 home runs this season. 7 of them have come in his last 7 starts, a span of just 37 innings. So the home run ball has been a big problem for Michaelis as of late. Can the Padres find the power? They got some from Manny Machado yesterday. That's key number 1, mash against Michaelis. Key number 2, speaking of Manny, how about more Manny? Manny had 3 RBIs last night. The Padres improved to 21-0 when Machado has multiple RBIs in a game. That's right. When Manny has at least 2 RBIs, the Padres have not lost a game this season. That's how important Manny Machado is to the San Diego Padres. Think about that. We always say, as Manny goes, the Padres go. Well, that stat right there sort of proves it. They are very, very good when Machado has multiple RBIs in a game. We mentioned this a little bit earlier. Manny, if you zoom out a little bit, is playing really well right now, batting .324 in his past 113 plate appearances, a 1,009 OPS in that span with 8 home runs. That's key number 2, more Manny. Key number 3, his third base counterpart, Nolan Arenado. Got to slow him down. Arenado had a 24-game on-base streak snapped yesterday with an 0 for 5. Before yesterday, Arenado was hitting .318 with 8 extra base hits and 15 RBIs this month. Have to keep him in check once again today. Again, Arenado 0 for 5 yesterday, snapping that 24-game on-base streak. That's key number 3. Key number 4, situational hitting. Something the Padres have done exceptionally well really all year. Padres went 3 for 10 with runners in scoring position yesterday. Not bad. They also had multiple 2-out RBI base hits. The Padres lead the NL in hitting with runners on base at .282. They have the 3rd highest team batting average with runners in scoring position at .276. So why do I bring it up today? Well, got to keep on doing what you've been doing. Situational hitting, finding ways to capitalize with runners on base. Michaelis is not a dominant starting pitcher. He should be a guy, at the very least, that the Padres are able to create some base traffic against. Situational hitting. When you get guys on, get them over, get them in. That's key number 4. And key number 5, navigate the pen. Robert Suarez and Tanner Scott have both pitched on back-to-back days. There's a scenario today, not guaranteed, but a scenario where Mike Shildt could stray away from using both those guys today. So how do the Padres navigate their bullpen? Do we see Jason Adam? Do we see Adrian Morejon? Do we see Jeremiah Estrada? Do we see Yuki Matsui? Who do we see late in a tight game out of this Padres pen today? Again, considering Suarez and Scott have both pitched in back-to-back days. That's key number 5. And that's a look at our keys to the game. When we come back on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show, we'll focus on a couple of rookies, one for either team, that made a big impact last night. We'll focus on what they may do today in Game 2 of this 4-game series. Plus, we have a full breakdown of our starting pitching matchup between Dylan Cease and Miles Michaelis. Couple of veteran right-handers going at it. First pitch coming up at 4:45 in St. Louis for Game 2 of this 4-game series. I'm Sam Levitt. You're listening to the Padres Radio Network. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. First pitch coming up at 4:45 in St. Louis for Game 2 of this 4-game series. We go out to Jesse Agler and Tony Gwynn Jr. in just about 11 minutes or so at 4:35. Sam Levitt back with you inside our San Diego studios. We'll tell you what to watch for in just a moment. We'll also take a full look at our pitching matchup today. A couple of veteran right-handers going at it. Dylan Cease for San Diego, Miles Michaelis on the mound for St. Louis. Of course, this series marks Padres manager Mike Shildt's return to Busch Stadium for the first time since he managed the Cardinals from 2018 through 2021. He won NL Manager of the Year in 2019. So the Padres getting a win for Mike Shildt yesterday, 7-4 in Game 1 of this series. We'll see if they can make it 2 in a row and 3 wins in a row overall going back to Sunday in the second game of this 4-game set here today. While I have a minute here, you might not know this about me, but a good time to tell you with the Padres in St. Louis, and I may have mentioned this before, my professional broadcasting career began in the St. Louis market, a team in the Frontier League called the Gateway Grizzlies. They play on the other side of the Mississippi, on the Illinois side, about 10 minutes away from Busch Stadium. In fact, from the ballpark, from the Grizzlies Stadium, you can see the arch, and you can nearly see Busch Stadium, so it is really that close. There are a couple of delicacies in St. Louis that I really like, that if you ever go to St. Louis, maybe you're listening from St. Louis right now, you're at the stadium listening to Padres pregame. We've had people tell us that before. When they go on the road to watch the Padres, they tune into our pregame show. 2 items you should try. Number 1, toasted ravioli. Can be really, really good if you get the right toasted rav. And number 2, the gooey butter cake. Those 2 items really good. You might have some locals tell you about the pizza. You don't need that. The toasted ravioli, the gooey butter cake. With that in mind, let's tell you what to watch for tonight in St. Louis.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For. Presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovementsSD.com.
What to watch for in today's game? The rookies. Jackson Merrill went 2 for 4 last night with 3 RBIs. That was 24 hours after his second walk-off home run of the season. Merrill has been terrific as of late, slugging .710 with 11 extra base hits, 19 RBIs in his last 18 games. His 75 RBIs this season are now the second most by a rookie in Padres history, behind Benito Santiago's 79 RBIs back in 1987. So Merrill, in all likelihood, is going to pass that with a month left in the season. Santiago, of course, the last Padre to win Rookie of the Year. And Jackson, of course, has a very good chance to accomplish that as well. So we know Jackson has been incredible. That's the rookie for the Padres to watch. The rookie for the Cardinals, Mason Wynn. He had 3 hits last night, a double and 2 runs scored. He's batting .362 with 5 RBIs and 8 runs scored in his last 11 games. So what to watch for in this game? How do these 2 impressive rookies continue to impact this series? Wynn for St. Louis, Merrill for San Diego. That's what I'm looking for in today's game. Been a great couple of days for Jackson Merrill, the home run on Sunday to win it against the Mets, and then had 3 RBIs in yesterday's series opening win against the Cardinals. Let's break down this pitching matchup between Dylan Cease and Miles Mikolas.
Let's take a look at who's on the bump today with our starting pitching preview. Presented by Chimney Sweeps, Inc., San Diego's trusted chimney and fireplace service company for 40 years. Call Chimney Sweeps, Inc. at 1-800-CHIMNEY or book an inspection online at chimneysweepsinc.com.
On the mound for the Padres, right-hander Dylan Cease, 28 years old. He's 12-10, a 3.43 ERA in 27 starts this season, 154 2/3 innings, a major league leading 193 strikeouts to 51 walks. His .200 opponent batting average entering today is the 5th lowest in the major league. Cease has had a very, very good season and very, very important to this Padres rotation, as we discussed earlier. His last start against the Mets, 6 innings and a third, 2 earned runs given up, 9 hits allowed. He struck out 7. You zoom out a little bit, Cease has a 1.58 ERA in his last 8 starts. This will be his 2nd career start against the Cardinals, his first in St. Louis. His first one against the Cardinals was last July with the White Sox. He gave up 5 earned runs on 11 hits in 6 innings. Nolan Arenado hit a home run against him, so keep an eye on that matchup today between Cease and Arenado. The arsenal for Cease, the 4-seam fastball, the slider, we know he throws those 2 a ton, knuckle curveball, sweeper, and every once in a blue moon, he'll mix in the changeup. On the mound for the Cardinals, right-hander Miles Mikolas, 36 years old. He's 8-10, a 5.19 ERA, 26 starts, 144 innings. He's allowed 158 hits, struck out 99, walked 23. Last start against the Brewers, he was really good. 6 innings, no earned runs given up on 2 hits. His 3 starts prior to that were not very good at all. A 9.22 ERA in 13-plus innings. Faced the Padres all the way back in early April. He was good that day at Petco Park. 6 innings, 2 earned runs given up on 7 hits. He picked up the win in that game. Mikolas, remember, all the way back when he began his career with the Padres, drafted by San Diego. ever since he left the Padres, is a 2.55 ERA in 7 career starts against the Padres. The arsenal for Michaelis, he's a guy who throws a number of different pitches: the four-seam fastball, the slider, the sinker, the curve, the changeup, and the sweeper. And that's a look at our starting pitching matchup today. Dylan Cease for San Diego, and on the mound for the Cardinals, right-hander Miles Michaelis. Well, you heard me mention Jackson Merrill during our What to Watch For segment, and worth not every day, but often as we enter the final month of the season, it's really worth just noting how good he's been among Major League rookies. Of course, you compare him to fellow Rookie of the Year contender Paul Skeens. If you want to go by WAR, Merrill's WAR is 3.9 per Fangraph. Skeens has a 2.9 WAR, so he leads in that category. Merrill, of course, leads all rookies in batting average at 290, hits at 132, OPS at 809, and RBIs, like we mentioned earlier, at 75. He also has 46 extra base hits this season, the most of any rookie in Major League Baseball. So any way you slice it, Jackson continues to provide Merrill madness pretty much each and every day. We'll see what he has in store tonight in St. Louis. You've been listening to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on the Padres Radio Network. EcoWater SoCal, your water should be perfect. Find them online at ecowatersocal.com. Let's set the table one more time for you as we get ready for first pitch coming up at 4:45. Again, we go out to Jesse and Tony in just about 3-4 minutes. They'll have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and all the play-by-play. Padres enter today at 75-58. Cardinals are at 65-66. The Cardinals now a ways back in the wild card race, so they're pretty much out of the picture. But the Padres, as we know, a very, very different story. They enter today sitting in the National League's second wild card spot, 1 game behind Arizona for the top spot. Padres also begin the day 4 games behind the LA Dodgers for first place in the National League West. And even though the last week and a half has not been as great for the Padres as they were playing right out of the All-Star break, Padres have won 2 in a row. They are still 25-8 in their last 33 games. And again, we remind you, both the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks are in action today. Mets taking on the Diamondbacks in Arizona at 6:40. Dodgers hosting the Orioles at 7:10. So really a couple of tough series for both those teams in LA and in Arizona. We'll have full updates on those games on our post-game show coming up a little bit later on tonight. And as always, we'll have a full update on the standings a little bit later on as well. When we come back, Jesse and Tony are ready to go. They're standing by. They have first pitch and all the play-by-play for Game 2 of this 4-game series in St. Louis. I'll talk to you on our post-game show. You're listening to your home for San Diego Padres baseball, 97.3 The Fan, and the Padres Radio Network. Enjoy the game, everybody.